That's interesting. So let's move on to the events of September 5th, 2020. Um, and that's what you're best known for, and that's what the Tally 19 are known for, was the action happening on September 5th. Do you want to go through what all happened that day and why the cops intervened and how the people got arrested and everything?
As painful as it is, I'll be glad to. Nonetheless, September 5th, it was a handful of protesters, of like 150 of us or so, that organized and got out to, like, rally and protest and march for the deaths of Tony McDade, Michael Johnson, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Jamie Johnson, Little Nuke, and so many more that have been, like, killed by the police. And the thing is that as we led the protest, I was driving the vehicle that was leading it as it was coming up to the Capitol. One police officer, like, drove up beside me and told me that I needed to, like, speed along. And I told him, no, I'm gonna continue the course I'm taking. He said if I did not move, along, that he was going to give me a ticket. Pretty much, he wanted me to abandon the rest of the protesters. That's pretty much what he wanted. And I'm there to, like, make sure that they're protected and that they're safe, as far as, like, them being guided to, like, get across the street to the next. So I was just like, no, I'm not gonna speed up and everything. He said that I was impending traffic. There was no cars behind me. He said, I said, well, after I stopped up at the Capitol, he said that, I told him, I said, go ahead and give me the ticket. He said that he asked me in a kind way, would I, like, go around to the side or go around to the back, to get the ticket? And I said, no. I'm definitely not trying to, like, be hidden from public view in regards to the situation. And you give me a ticket because I have no idea what you're going to do to me. And I don't trust them that way. So the thing is that they're like, well, could you please, go around to the side? He was, like, still trying to, like, convince me otherwise, to go around the side to receive the ticket. And I was like, no. And then my folks finally caught up with me, which weren't too far. When they finally caught up, they were like, what's going on? And Ticia was the first one to speak about, like, what's happening here. And she's from More Than a Name. Ticia was like, give her the ticket now. You would at any other time give anybody a ticket. So go ahead and give her the ticket right now, right here. Of course, the police were just like, well, we need her to go around to the side. Again, when others, like, got word of what was happening, they were like, give it to her right now, give her the ticket right now, they were chanting. That's when they had opened up the door and they were trying to, like, get me to, like, leave the vehicle. Ticia and Regina Joseph, my president of Tallahassee Community Action Committee, were like pleading to me on their side, like, grabbed her hand, and I grabbed her hand, and they began to, like, try to pull me out the other side of the vehicle. The police officers had my arm and they were trying to pull me out the vehicle. Another officer was trying to grab my leg to try to grasp it, and I knew they were going to, like, literally try to drag me onto the floor. Out on the ground. Another officer, a Black officer, like, ran. I could hear him in the distance. I know her. That's Trish Brown. They stopped. They let go of me, and he leaned in and he was like, Trish, come with me. Trust me. But my thing is that it was inevitable that I was going to get arrested. But the fact that they let go, I was just like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and go. So I got out the vehicle and then escorted me to the SUV police car. And as I was driving off, I could see that things had gotten a little bit more intense. And then all of a sudden, to my right, I see 300 police officers coming. And I saw them in riot gear with riot shields, and I saw tear gas guns, and I saw police officers dressed in military gear, and I saw state patrol. And I saw them marching like stormtroopers, like coming across the street to my folks. And that was the last I saw of them.
And let's be clear that this is the escalation done by the police. There was nobody in your group, to your knowledge, threatening or hurting anybody. They were practicing their First Amendment right peacefully, and the police escalated it to
That's right.
a situation.
Yeah, we literally have been protesting since March of last year. And not one of our protests have ever been violent, had ever had like any sticks or stones, or we have never threatened to bomb nothing or hurt anyone. We were fighting for peace. We were crying out for peace. We were crying out for the safety of the people in our community. We were crying out for the safety of folks having to deal with the police, protection against the police, to enforce the Civilian Police Accountability Council. That's a CPAC. That means, a group of people democratically elected, from the community by people that will actually have a part in controlling the police, to have control over indicting and convicting, having a say and a hand in the change in policing as far as policy, expediting evidence. Those police officers that have been involved in the beatings or the killings, to actually know their names, and making police accountable for their actions. That's what we were doing all year long, and we were doing that peacefully. But as things started to get closer towards the fall, we had a protest, that the one protest during that summer was where a truck had ran into a group of protesters that,
in Jacksonville, correct?
This was in Tallahassee.
Oh,
this
wow.
was in Tallahassee. The truck ran into the protesters, injuring several people, including a couple of our friends, as far as from our organization, and friends that have came in solidarity. And that person that ran that truck into our groups of protesters never got charged for that. It was a stand your ground, as far as letting him go. But again, we had no guns, we had no knives, we had no bricks, we had no rocks, we had no sticks or anything. And they still let this man go. We had a second protest that was on August 29th, and an agitator came into our crowd of people. The police had turned around and saw the gentleman the agitator as he was coming up. They addressed him. They asked him, who he was. He gave them his name. They are, police are, trained to identify if a person has a gun on him. They noticed that he had a gun. They asked him if he had a, license for that gun. And he said, yes. He showed it to them, and then turned around and patted him on the back, shook his hand, and allowed him to proceed into our crowd of people. Now, the thing was that you saw this man wearing a hat on his head that said, "Let's make America great again." And you knew he was not there for Black Lives Matters or for the uplifting of all those who had been killed by police. But you allowed him to continue to keep going into our crowd. He was videotaping, taking pictures of license plates, taking pictures of people. And of course, that got the attention of many protesters. They tried to block his phone. He kept pushing their arms out of the way. He pushed one girl in the face, and then another gentleman turned around and came to her defense. It escalated into a fight. And then that man turned around and pulled out a gun and aimed it right down on one of our friends. And then after that, then pointed that gun at everybody in the crowd, me and others. and the police ran and grabbed him. He kneeled down to the ground, dropped the gun, and he was so docile with it, like it felt like it was a setup. It really felt like it was a setup. Did that man get arrested? No. He was let go. So this brings back to September 5th, was like just a week later after that. Again, innocent protesters taken to the streets. This time we were asked, were we going to like take the sidewalk? We said we would. They marched all the way around on the sidewalks until they got up to the Capitol. I was like pulled up on by a police officer, asked to like speed up. They wanted to give me a citation for driving too slow. But there is nowhere in the DMV or in the driver's manual that can tell me how slow you can drive at the Capitol. It's already 25 miles per hour. There is nothing. My attorney has research. There is nowhere saying that there's a certain limit as far as like how slow you can drive. So you gave me a ticket and you dragged me out. You tried to drag me out of the car and you put me in jail. And then you arrest 14 others that day.
Yes.
Along with me. And then you turn around and you arrest 3 more. And then there's another, there's still a warrant out there as far as like with no name on it. So that's why we call ourselves the Tally 19, because actually 18 of us got arrested, but there's a 19th warrant out there for somebody and there's no name on it. I've never heard of a warrant for with no name on it. So that's a scare tactic, of course. And that's to like put fear into anybody's heart as far as like that they can come after anyone.
Yeah.
As far as that might have been affiliated with that protest. And then on top of that, what really got me is that, you know, we're still facing charges. We are still facing charges. Ben Grant is the only one now out of 3 that have felony charges. 2 of the felony charges were dropped. Ben still has a felony charge. Mm-hmm. And this is, sorry, go ahead.
And I didn't interrupt, but to be clear, so Ben was arrested after the protest, but they claimed he assaulted a police officer.
That's right.
But if he had done that, then he would have been arrested immediately. You know what I mean? Like, well, how could you do that and then let you go? And then he was on his way, according to the newspaper, he was on his way to the gym at the time he was arrested.
Absolutely.
I mean? And it was days later. And it's just like, so that's extremely fishy what went on there. You know what I mean? That doesn't make any sense.
But we all know what that means, though. I mean, we can sit here and say that that like I can't believe this happening. Why is it that he's, you know, the only person with felony charges still? Well, the rest of us are facing just misdemeanors now. The thing is that this is a message to all white allies, to all white people out there. You go ahead and follow these like Black-led, you know, organizations and Black-led protests, you know, assemblies. Well, then guess what? This is what happens to you. You go to, you get press charges for felony, second-degree felony, and you get press charge for felony, and you're looking at $10,000 in fines and up to 10 years in jail. So this is the warning. This is what they're trying to tell folks. And like I said, you know, they had folks had no problem with us protesting throughout the police didn't have any problem with us taking to the streets, for that matter, as far as throughout the summer. But the thing is that we built up so momentum. So many people was like there in solidarity. So many students, so many youth, so many community members that were out there crying for justice for all of those that have been impacted by police brutality, or families or friends that have like been impacted by a loved one or a neighbor that has been shot and killed, you know, by police officers, or choked or restrained to death. by police officers. We were crying out to be heard. That's all we were doing. Again, we were not violent throughout that whole entire time. But I started noticing, like even in the news, when our city officials were talking, they were like, you know, like when the whole situation with the truck, when Mayor Daley took to the mic as far as like on news, he was just like, you know, that's not our community. That's not how we are.
Yeah, I saw that press conference.
Yeah,
I actually watched that press conference. Yeah,
he was from out of town. You know, he couldn't have been from Tallahassee or the capital. He couldn't be from there. You know, but protesters need to make sure that they're like, you know, being peaceful, that they're not, you know, causing anything. And so it was turned around on us. You know, it went from us being victims to, you know, them saying that we were a danger, or that like, you know, us being put in a negative light. And it didn't make any sense to me. But I kind of figured that this is what was the plan, you know, even though we were the victims, even though we were attacked, even though we weren't retaliating, you know, we were the bad guys. And that's how like the message started like getting pushed. And I'm here to tell everyone out there, man, we're such, you know, my folks, as far as like Tallahassee Community Action Committee and More Than a Name and Take a Stand Tally and Movement 850 movement, you know, and so many other organizations out here that are marching and protesting. And, you know, I want to say that these are like incredible sheroes and incredible heroes in our community. And like, they do such amazing and good work. And I just need folks to understand that, again, you know, we're about taking care of folks. You know, we're about lifting each other up, and we're about like, you know, demanding, you know, the resources and the equity and the equality, you know, that we deserve, that should be a right, you know, a right to healthcare, you know, and not just, you know, affordable healthcare, quality healthcare, a right to, you know, housing, you know, but not just housing, you know, quality housing. The thing is that these people do good work. We're not here to take people's lives. We're not here to hurt anyone. We're here to just you know, change the system and to make, you know, all those things that are available to all those to white privileged people. We want the same things for Black and Brown and LGBTQ plus and those disabled and veterans and those dealing with mental health. We need to like try to like, you know, make this fair, make this set things right. But we've been doing it peacefully, and we've been doing it without violence. And all we have been doing it is with our voices and with the pen and paper, and just, you know, like I said, this is a family. The movement is a family, you know, because like I said, it brings so many of us together in love and solidarity. This movement is about love. These protests are resonating love. So for them to attack us the way they have been and trying to destroy us like this and putting us in a negative light is just not right. That ain't right. And we just got to continue to keep, you know, trying to protect us and lift us up in the light, because God knows we can't rely on officials or legislators or the government to do that. It's about us taking care of us now. And as far as the change that we want to make in our community and throughout the state of Florida and the US and the world. Because like I said, we're on fire here. things are getting really pretty bad here in Florida.
Yeah, exactly. And I want to explain how the situation with the Tally 19 was used to promote House Bill 1, which is called the Anti-Riot Bill. And so the House Bill 1 it set up, this is a quick synopsis from the internet I'm going to read off. It's a third-degree felony if property or bodily damage with the assembly of 7 or more people, third-degree felony for blocking traffic without a permit, and it allows drivers to run over protest in like an expansion of stand your ground. So Tallahassee and the state of Florida, so anywhere in the state of Florida, they require $1 million of insurance before the protest permit is granted. And so basically the only way you can afford $1 million worth of insurance is if you're either already independently wealthy or part of some large organization that has deep pockets. It's a second-degree felony to topple a statue, first-degree felony for harassing people in public. So that could just simply be having a protest in public and then somebody drinking tea beside you is offended. That's harassing people in public. That's how light it can be. And it also puts the ability to put RICO liability for anyone that funds the organizing. So if you were to give money to an organization that gets caught up in this, they could come after you with the RICOs. RICO's what they use for mobsters, if you didn't know.
Okay.
So, and you know, it was named after a character in a John Dillinger movie.
Really?
Yeah, that's why they came up with the acronym RICO. It was a guy named Rico in the thing, and it's racketeering in criminal organization is the acronym, but they actually got it from a gangster movie from the 30s.
Wow. This is crazy. This is crazy. Oh my God. Thank you for that.
Yeah, to continue, no defunding the police permitted at the local level. This is actually, I don't see how that's constitutional, because what you're basically saying is you're intervening, the state can intervene on the sovereignty of a town. So if the town all agrees to lower police funding, the state can come in and tell them to not do that. So it's really taking away their complete town sovereignty, right. You know, even if everyone in the town agreed with it. Victims can sue the entire locality, so that makes all the localities want to enforce the law, because if they don't, if someone sues, they can take money from the city where they get the permit from. Lose state benefits for perpetrators. So yeah, so if you were getting government assistance from the state of Florida, you get caught up in this, they can take your government assistance away. That includes welfare, but also includes grants to go to college, scholarships to go to college. If you somehow got a contract with the government unrelated, they could take the contract from the government away. And no bond or bail until first appearance in court. So you have to stay in jail till court.
That's right.
So, I mean, that's just trampling First Amendment law, First Amendment. I mean, there's no way around that. Like, I mean, there's no way this is like fair in any kind of way. This isn't even about just make sure you have a permit. You know? That's
the new Jim Crow 2.0.
And I was about to say, so when I do a lot of studying of the civil rights movement, and one of the actions I studied was in Monroe, North Carolina. And what they did in Monroe, North Carolina, they said that protesters can't stand more than 4 foot away from each other. So when they marched, they actually had to measure out to make sure nobody was in 4 feet of each other. And so if someone walked a little too fast or a little too slow, the cops would come in and arrest everybody.
Oh my
so
gosh.
If you were just out of step by a hair or two, there'd be people to come and arrest them. So
that's insane.
Yeah. And so when people say Jim Crow 2.0, they're not kidding. This is the exact strategy they use to beat down the civil rights movements on the local and state level. And then they made laws saying that national organizations weren't allowed to operate within the state. And so that's another thing that happened in Birmingham. The NAACP actually wasn't allowed to come and intervene. So what the NAACP had to do was they had to make every NAACP chapter in that state leave and then become a local organization, independent.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
And it's the same thing. And so these state laws, these draconian state laws, they're doing again to crush these local movements and things. And then I believe personally they'll eventually make it hard for national organizations to operate too, if the national organizations are already co-opted. And that's something we can discuss later, because sometimes national organizations are already co-opted.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so so after HR 1 passed, and I believe that was early this year, I didn't write down the exact date, but I want to say that was February in 2021. How, yeah. That sounds right?
Yeah, it's around that, yeah.
So how has protesting changed after the bill has passed? Have you been able to have protests? How have you gotten around it or whatever?
Yeah, because the thing is that I mean, it really did when HB1 like even like showed up on the map as far as like a week later after our September 5th protest, that just resonated that was an attack on Tallahassee Community Action Committee. That bill like popped up right after our protest. But I do realize that it does impact everybody in Florida nonetheless that have protests. The thing is that it has like, shook things definitely. We have been, so I want to say it's been traumatic. It's been traumatizing to a lot of folks, me and so many others. It's frustrating for me because I'm again, I'm willing to die for liberation. And if that means going against, that bill, I was absolutely down to do so. But it has like, it has terrified folks. It has us in fear. And I hate that. I hate that, like, everybody is afraid because nobody wants to go to jail. Nobody wants to like be sitting in there during a COVID situation, pandemic, waiting for first appearance before being released. That doesn't even make any sense. And then, allowing agitators to have that right to kill us or to shoot us just when they feel like they are threatened. It's the reason why, I think like, not only I think that's madness, I think it's also, like I said, people need to look back into the police policy, as far as like, how police feel like, well, like that person that I was trying to apprehend, I felt I was in danger. That's not enough, but that's what they say is enough.
It's literally putting their feelings ahead of your life and constitutional freedom, like foundational principles of what they call America.
That's right.
Is secondary to a white guy's feelings at that time. I mean, just like to think about it, when you put it like that, it's just like, wow, like, and I mean, and just, and the thing of it is, I did some research on these car attacks. I was able to find several instances of them. In May of 2020, I found one in Jackson and one in Tulsa and a third in Minneapolis around the May 31st. I found another one in LA on September 25th and one in June in Long Island. So like these car attacks on protesters are a thing that's happening. It's happening all over the country. And I mean, this is,
wow.
Yeah, this is going to be a serious problem. It's something people need to be aware about if they want to protest or to fight against these laws, which are just draconian. You know what I mean?
So far, I will say this: a Supreme Court judge has has like shut down the HB1. So it's no longer a law now, as far as like HB1 being that it. The judge said that it does, go against our First Amendment right to freedom of speech. So I will say that that has been a victory for us, but there's still things around it that still have to be addressed. So I'm not sure if you had heard about that.
No, when did this happen?
This was, oh my goodness. I don't have the dates on me, but that was but a couple of weeks ago.
Okay. Well, that's a good thing, but it's still important for people to know what kind of things
Absolutely.
they're trying to do. And the Supreme Court is still right wing, so we got to be
Yeah.
careful. And I
Governor,
don't, yeah, and I don't put it past him to try something a little bit milder next
legis
time.
yeah, the legislation, which
So I was able to look up the case Trish was talking about. What actually happened was a Florida U.S. district judge put a temporary injunction on the law. So that means that it can't be carried out by sheriffs in the Northern District of Florida. However, in the Central and Southern districts, the law still 100% stands. DeSantis is actually appealing this in the 11th Circuit Court coming out of Atlanta, which leans right. So we're not sure how the appeal will go. But in the objection written by the judge in federal court, he actually referenced a civil rights case in which two civil rights protesters were fighting for a seat on a bus, and they were accused of rioting. So even the judge sees that the similarities between what we're going through now and the civil rights movement.